Hi, welcome everybody. This is my brand new course. It's an intro course into the chakras, trauma, and healing. So let's get into it. Let's move my little face up here. Hey. What is trauma? Let's talk about that because I feel like there's some misunderstandings around what trauma is. Can you see that video thing? Why is it so big? We'll just go like that. Okay, so clearing core trauma. Trauma is just a big misunderstanding, basically. It's not even really a major adverse event that happened to you, but basically all of your core patterning was formed when you were a child, like before age 9. And something happened to you, something fucked up happened, but since you're the center of your own universe until age 9, you wrote a story about yourself based on that event or based on the feeling that you had from that event. And there wasn't anybody around to, give you the reality or set it straight. And so that's when the pattern was created. Something happened to you and you wrote a story about yourself. These stories became your manual for how life works. And you've basically been, until you get to the root of these issues, operating from a manual that you wrote when you were a kid. And so the course that I just did was about healing all of your childhood trauma. There's 7 blocks in your energy centers. And as long as you get to the root of those, as long as you remove the core trauma, you're done with your inner child work. You don't have to get stuck in the cult of the inner child. You don't have to keep coming back to it. Everything comes back to these 7 core traumas or 7 emotions. And it's been around forever and ever. It's best to be able to get to the root of the issue and reprogram that belief. The good thing about your cognition, your brain, is that you can repattern it. You can reprogram it. The program that I'm doing, or the healing that I'm doing, is really centered around repatterning that. Realizing what the core belief is, the feeling, and reprogramming that from an adult perspective, considering all of the circumstances, not only considering like the pain, considering the victim, the abuser, and then the setting of it. And so we can respond differently to these feelings as adults. And it gives us these tools to consciously control our response to pain. Because until we look at this manual that we wrote as a kid, until we look at these stories and look at these beliefs, we're going to continue to choose things that are wrong for us. We're going to continue to react to things as if we're a child, okay? And we're not children anymore, we're adults. So, yeah. Oh yeah, I tried all kinds of things to I was running from my childhood for a long time. I mean, I tried all kinds of things to fix it. I tried therapy. I tried self-help books. I even tried energy healing, and until I got to the root of the issues, I just continued to choose the same things that would give me the same emotional responses that I had before. It would send me into the same spiral over and over. And I was really confused about this. And I was a victim of the circumstances of my life, really, because I didn't understand that, being on a spiritual path, we're really responsible for our lives and taking accountability for our lives. But I was stuck in a victim role for a long time, not understanding that it was these stories and these patterns that were causing me to make the same choices, that were causing me to feel the same ways and say, this feels so familiar. Why does this keep happening to me? But it's really the consequences of my own actions and the same choices that I was making based on subconscious beliefs, based on childhood trauma when I was a kid. And so what I really needed was not more therapy to continue to intellectualize these experiences that happened to me, but really getting to the root of the issues and saying, oh yeah, this was all just a misunderstanding. Let me consider the whole picture. Just because something fucked up happened to you doesn't mean that you're fucked up. Okay? So here are the 7 core blocks. And we'll talk about the chakras more in a minute, but these are the 7 core blocks that everybody gets. Everybody gets no matter what. So the root chakra, the Muladhara, is blocked by fear and guilt. The Svadhisthana, the sacral chakra, is blocked by shame. The Manipura chakra is blocked by anxiety. The heart chakra, the Anahata, is blocked by grief. The throat chakra is blocked by jealousy, the Vishuddha. The third eye, the Anya chakra, is blocked by feeling crazy or like just having a complete misunderstanding of your spiritual gifts, purpose in the world. And your crown chakra is blocked by hopelessness, or basically being cut off from the divine or God. So let's talk a little bit about what are chakras. Basically, chakras are the Eastern approach to psychology. As long as people have been around, mental health issues have been around. And so there haven't always been drugs or other ways to manage that, but there have always been other approaches. So the tools that I've learned in this workshop that I just recently did basically go back to the oldest texts known to man, the Rig Veda and the Diamond Sutras, which were like 500 years BC. But the chakras there are 7 major and 7 minor chakras. We're going to talk about the 7 major chakras. They are basically points where your life force energy converges. So the root, the sacral, the Manipura, solar plexus, heart, Vishuddha, throat, crown, and third eye and crown. So yeah. And with these core blocks, they're all rooted in your feelings body. So in order for us to get to the root of the problem, we have to go into your feelings body to do that. That's why therapy is never going to work for it, really, because you're continuing to intellectualize your feelings. And until you feel your feelings, you can't reprogram it. You can't see what the belief is if you don't zoom in on it. And so that's really my job, is to be able to facilitate a safe space where we can do this together. So not only am I doing like the trauma recovery mentorship, but I also am a Reiki healing, energy healing practitioner. And I've noticed that like now that my core blocks are gone and my energy is able to flow freely, Reiki works so much better, and like energy healing practices work so much better now that I don't have those blocks in place. And you can remove your blocks manually through psychedelics, even like sex magic, things like that release Kundalini energy. But if you have those blocks in there, it's going to just release that to manifest into your life. And if you're releasing these blocks manually and not objectively, like through a program, they'll just reblock, because if you did it on accident and it's not repeatable, it's doomed to just undo itself. That's what my teacher says anyway. We talked a little bit about what trauma is, what chakras are, how these blocks are formed. They're all formed in your childhood, like before age 9. And a lot of people think that your trauma or your blocks are based on like really extremely painful experiences. If it was something that happened after age 9, like a lot of the times the block that needs to be released is not the most painful thing that ever happened to you. It's usually something relatively mundane, or it's not the biggest, most painful thing a lot of the times. So there's not a whole huge need to go ahead and revisit like the most painful things that ever happened to you, because there's not a ton of benefit there. Really, the only thing that we need to do is get to the 7 main ones. And once we remove those and we can reprogram those, boom, like we're off and popping. So let's talk a little bit about Reiki energy healing and how that works. So when I'm doing an energy healing practice with somebody, it's similar to trauma work in the sense of like, I am there to be the ground. I'm there to be the facilitator. I'm holding the safe space. And our goals are to invite the healing energy of Reiki and your angels and spirit guides to facilitate energy healing by balancing the flow of energy in your body. I'm channeling the universal life force energy to promote that balance. And the thing about Reiki too is it's a practice, right? Like it's not something where you just wave a magic wand and then you're all better immediately. You're going to feel better and feel results in each trauma recovery session and each energy healing session. It's something that builds on each other over time. And it's really important to, when you're doing trauma therapy, trauma recovery, to do the chakras in order, starting at the base and going upward. That's how they develop as we age. They develop from the base of the spine upward. And you need to be really, so like the root chakra, for instance, you need to be really grounded in your body before you open up your third eye and not have a ground. You can experience spiritual psychosis, or you can, get really out there and then people think you're crazy and then you get locked up, right? You get in the psych ward or something. And nobody wants that. People want to, the thing about it too is like there's blocks that you know that you have, and then there's blocks that you don't know that you have. And the ones that you don't know that you have are the ones that are causing the most issues. I can guarantee that. So those ones need to be removed, like more so than ones that you know that you have. And so the chakras are really a roadmap for us. We get in and we get out, okay? Because otherwise you can get stuck, spinning your tires, going around and around, re-experiencing your trauma, the major triggers for you over and over again. For what? Just to experience more pain. The good thing about the chakras is it is our objective roadmap. It is our step-by-step process for getting through the inner child work, for removing the core blocks. The teacher that I learned from, her name is Onami, and she has a program called Wheels Reinvented, where she talks about 7 locks, 7 keys. So there's 7 locks, the 7 blocks in your chakras. We're going to open them with 7 keys. And once we do that, we can leave our inner child work behind. But also once we do that, we know what our balance feels like. And so we can return to that, right? Like life is dynamic. It doesn't mean that once we open these and once you're balanced, that you're never going to experience an adverse life event again, right? Like that would be so silly. It doesn't mean that you're never going to experience fear again. It doesn't mean that you're never going to experience anxiety again. Like you definitely will, but you'll know what that feels like. And you'll be able to say, oh, here this is again. This is what I do now. I can consciously control my response to this thing. I can choose how I want to react here, rather than the impulse of choosing something that feels familiar and is going to replicate the same pattern for you in your life that has been causing you to be miserable. If you're anything like me anyway. So that's my little spiel on the core blocks, the chakras, and trauma, and how all of these, and energy healing, and how all these things fit together in my practice. So I want to invite you to just take this free course, take this beautiful thing that I'm making, and see how you can use that in your own healing life and your journey. Also, I'm offering one-on-one work with people. So if you're interested in doing the unblocking process and being met with energy healing as well, I've got a one-on-one container. You can set up a free 30-minute clarity call with me in the link below. I also invite you to post in the group, where do you feel stuck in your life, in your body? Do you feel things manifesting into your life that feel familiar? That feel like a pattern that you don't want to keep repeating? How does that show up for you? And I'll see you again.